Welcome to another episode of Streaming with a Purpose. It's time to be inspired and motivated to live your best life on purpose. On Streaming with a Purpose, hear the stories of people who have, despite the odds, dealt with the challenges that life sometimes brings, but who still manage to overcome those odds. If you think life is tough and you have to settle for where you are, my guests and I are here to tell you you don't have to. I speak to people who were once where you are and are now living their purpose, and I want to encourage you to live your life to the fullest. I am your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Let's take a listen to our next guest. Hello and welcome to another episode of Streaming with a Purpose. I'm your host, Sylvia Montgomery, and I'm so glad that you are listening in today. Today, we have a special guest, Lisa Temple. And Lisa is the founder and CEO of Polaris Future Shift, a marketing, consulting, and lifelong learning development company devoted to helping educators, entrepreneurs, and organizations step into their highest potential. With more than 32 years of experience leading and directing a variety of continuing education programs, Lisa brings a rare blend of strategic insight, branding, expertise, and a deep commitment to transformational learning. Now, Lisa created Polaris Future Shift to empower people to align their vision with purpose and lead boldly in their fields. Through marketing consulting, professional development, and customized lifelong learning programs, the company helps and supports individuals and organizations in strengthening their brand, expanding their reach, and elevating their impact. Lisa is also the creator of the BrandLeadTransform Experience, Inspire Greatness, Lead Boldly, a signature framework that ignites clarity, confidence, and courageous leadership. Wow, that is all awesome to see, Lisa, all of what you do. And it is so great to have you here today. How are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
Great that you are here. So we are just waiting to hear your story. And the first thing I want to ask you, Lisa, is how does what you do translate to you living your purpose?
Sylvia, it took a minute for me to really find my purpose, if I want to be completely honest. I remember sitting up at night asking God, please help me to find my purpose. And what I discovered is purpose is an unveiling, right? So it can be, and it often shows up when you are going through life challenges or if something comes easy to you, right? So I have experienced divorce twice. Um, just I'm a caregiver, and a mother and a grandmother. So with that, and a leader, I was a leader for 32 years, as you mentioned previously. And with all of that comes battle wounds. You learn to what to do and what not to do. And I would tell my daughter all the time, look, when you go on a job, you're either going to learn what to do or what not to do. And in all of that, you will discover your purpose. So my purpose really is the branding, leadership, and transformation. We could talk a little bit about that
Mhm.
as we move forward. And I named my company Polaris Future Shift because to me, it encaptures everything that I'm trying to do within my company. One, the Polaris is the North Star. So when you think about the ships out there, they tend to navigate using the North Star. And then I think about our forefathers, people that were, for me, if they were enslaved, they used the North Star to get to freedom, honestly. And so I think about that, and I think about the future is now. It's not the future. The future is really now. And then we all have to make sure that we make that shift. So we think about the North Star and navigating our future and making the shift at the same time.
Mhm. We all need some guidance, don't we?
We do.
That guidance is important, and you seem to do so much of that in various entities. And Lisa, you do brand coaching, you do leadership coaching, and you have a signature program, the Brand Lead Transform Experience. So let's talk about that signature program and how that reflects the core of your mission.
Sure. So a lot of people, when you think about branding, right, a lot of people think a logo, all the time. Hey, can you help me with my branding? And I have to tell individuals, your logo is not your brand, it's your brand identity. Your brand is everything that happens behind the scene, and the logo just simply would tell people who you are in a crowded market, right? So I always tell people when you think about Tiffany, what comes to your mind, right? Automatically, you think about the signature blue and luxury. When you think about Volvo, the car, what comes to your mind, right? So we have to do that for ourselves. People would define you based on their own perceptions, and it really will depend on where they meet you in life. So if they meet you when you're struggling or when you're going through a stressful time, they're going to base their brand on that particular time. And I've been there, right? For me personally, I was going through a hard time and whew, I didn't know if I was coming or going. But if you understand self-awareness, and this is something that I had to learn, self-awareness, let your light shine, do not shrink back. And if you are true to yourself and come up with your own brand mantra, something that's true to you, you can navigate those turbulent times and stay true to your brand. And branding is actually an inside job. A lot of people think that branding is an outside job. No, companies, they will get together and they will look at their strategic plan. Sometimes they'll gather a focus group to develop a brand strategy. And we're actually being marketed to every single day, and people don't understand that.
So now, does this align with the personal brand? Because I did remember seeing a quote from you that you referenced from Tom Peters,
I love Tom Peters.
where you
Right,
said that we are CEOs of our own companies, me incorporated, right?
right,
That's your company, it's you. So to be in a business today, our most important job is to be head marketer for the brand called you. Are you speaking of that in
I
regard
am.
to
Yes.
significant?
So right. So way back when my old organization that I worked with partnered with a company by the name of Wincom, and we organized this conference called Lessons in Leadership. And Tom Peters just happened to be one of the guest speakers, along with Stephen Covey and some other speakers that we will bring on board. But I happened to read that in, I think, don't quote me, I think it was in Inc. Um, magazine back in, I think it was in the late 1990s or the early 2000s. And it really resonated with me because when you think about marketing and branding, especially if you're a business owner, you are marketing yourself as well as your company, right? So when people, as an example, say if you work for Coca-Cola, they'll say, hey, Lisa, the one that works at Coca-Cola, you're always going to be identified by something, right? When I was in college, they would tell me, oh, Lisa the AKA, or Lisa the X, Y, and Z. So with all of that, who you are personally is going to somehow connect to something externally. So when you ask that question, personal branding is very important, along with if you're building a company or whatever you're building, you're going to have to learn how to connect the two. And as a matter of fact, I had a meeting today with an IP attorney, which stands for intellectual property. We're going to be doing a series of workshops starting in the spring. So any of your listeners, if they're interested, I guess they can get in contact with you. I don't know how that works, but again, we're going to be offering a series of workshops to talk about the importance of branding.
Awesome. And we will be getting your information before the end of the show so that people can actually know how to contact you. Yeah. And after reading that quote from you, I started thinking about that whole personal brand thing. And I was like, wow, that really makes sense. So when I think about myself, yes, I have a business and there's a logo for my business. But Sylvia, who are you truly?
Right.
How do people know you? They know me as a writer, as an author, as a motivational speaker. That's Sylvia. And most people will know me in that way. However, I do have a business logo. And that business covers those things and maybe a few other things. But I think our personal brand, I think about that all the time now. So
Mhm.
I just thank you for bringing that to the forefront for me so that I could even sort of brand myself, and I really feel that's a true statement. So, wow.
Well, let's thank Tom Peters because I think to me, he's a father of personal branding. I mean, a
Okay.
lot of people now, when they think about personal branding, think about, hey, you got to get your social media. What does your presence look like online? But what
Hmm.
happened before we had internet, right? What happened way back when somebody was good at their craft and they would say, hey,
Hmm.
let's contact whoever, or whomever, to get the work done. So it really is about who you are and give yourself a break. If you're going through a hard time, like we all do at some point, be easy on yourself and know that this too shall pass. You're just going through a transition, but remember who you are. And that way you can reconnect with your center and continue on with your personal brand.
And should I add that that personal brand that applies to everyone, whether they have a business or not, correct?
Right. Correct. It really, what do people say when you're not in the room? Right. So if you think
Hmm.
about your personal brand, and it's your promise to people. So when you think about personal branding, think about that. Also in the marketing world, especially branding world, we tend to use the term USP, which is your unique selling proposition. What makes you different than your competitors? And I always talk about Krispy Kreme, right? You never see a Krispy Kreme commercial, but when the light go on, you know that you're going to get some hot donuts, right? But so again, think about what makes you different.
Hmm. So let's talk a little bit about who you serve because you not only serve businesses and entrepreneurs, but you extend to educational programs as well.
Right. So the I serve anyone who's looking to transform, right? Be it an individual, somebody who is a leader in a company, which they're individuals, or organizations. So it really depends on where they are in their journey, if they're doing any type of restructuring or anything. So I tend to serve people who are really any people individuals and organizations that are really looking to restructure, reorganize themselves or their companies.
Hmm.
And I was going to say a lot of the work that we do, and I don't do it all myself. So what I typically do is that everything is customized pretty much. I mean, we do offer some on-demand learning, but for the customized training, we conduct a needs assessment to find out what the needs are for that particular company. And then I work with subject matter experts. I do some of the training, but I really like to bring in people that are really, really good in that particular subject. We're always looking for subject matter experts too. And that's what we do. So we can make sure that we are meeting the needs of our clients.
Can you expound on the lifelong learning aspect of your business?
You know what? So my company moved from lifelong learning to just doing more of a boutique training. But lifelong learning is for anybody who's interested in learning. And it's the way it sounds, lifelong learning, which is technically kind of an academic term you hear out there, but it's learning throughout your life from the cradle to the grave. And it can include anything from professional development training to personal enrichment training to customized training. The target market can vary from youth all the way up to senior citizens.
Hmm. So your programs would fit anyone, regardless of what stage of their life that they are in.
Well, we changed a little bit, right? So we're only going to be focusing on the branding, the leadership, and transformation. So it really is for people, I want to say people that are Gen Xers, baby boomers,
Hmm.
that to me, that's our target audience. Because when you get to the late millennials and the Gen Xers and baby boomers, we've seen some things, right? And sometimes we get stuck. I know I'm guilty for being stuck and trying to figure out how do I rebrand myself. So I help those people.
Okay. And I know you talked a little bit in the beginning about some things that you had gone through in your
Mhm.
life. And I know oftentimes, for most of us, including myself, there are just some things we got to go through. We got to go have various experiences in order for us to get to a point in our life where we feel like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But
Right.
what fueled your entrepreneurial journey?
That is a very, very good question, and I appreciate the question. So when I was growing up in Norfolk, the majority of my family, they worked and they also had side hustles because you had to have a side hustle to make ends meet. Then I had people in my family, they were true entrepreneurs. My great uncle, who was born in the late 1800s, had his own dry cleaning business in the city of Norfolk and did very well, Virginia Cleaners. Then my cousin, he graduated from UVA, top in his, or the first African American in his law class, was president of the NAACP chapter. He had his own law practice. So he had his own company. My father used to work for the city of Norfolk, but he also um, uh, built customized cabinetry, right? So I grew up, seeing people in my family and in my space working to make ends meet, or they said, you know what, I'm going to do it myself. And my other great uncle had his own barbershop. So again, that really, lit the North Star, if you will. Then also, especially for women and men, if you are single, if you were single all your life, or if you went through a divorce, it is so important to have multiple streams of income. You cannot rely on one stream of income, especially in this economy, right? So I tell people all the time, I know that a career is important, but what's more important is for you to bring in multiple sources of income so you can support your family.
I couldn't agree more.
Mhm.
That is something that I totally value and believe in as well, multiple streams of income. And not just the economy, but just the workforce today, period. One day you're working, the next day, maybe not. And
Right.
so we really have to be ready, be prepared, because we just have no idea what's going to happen from one day to the next. And wow, such an influence, a powerful influence with all of the entrepreneurs in your family. That's awesome. That's totally different from how I grew up. There
Oh,
wasn't
really?
most of
Okay.
my, yeah, most of what I saw was the 9 to 5. We got to do that
Okay.
40-hour work week. We got to do that. And I think for many of us, it's so hard for us to start
Mhm.
that entrepreneur journey if that's all we see. So,
Right.
yeah, absolutely. So, what advice would you give to individuals who would like to turn their passion or their purpose into a stream of income, but because they've only seen the 9 to 5, maybe, and are a little afraid to go out there on their own?
I can definitely recognize that in myself. I started my first company in 2015, right? But I got so bogged down at work. And quite frankly, when I got home, I was tired. I didn't feel like doing anything. It was just like turning over a car and it stalled. So you're still trying to put the key in and turn it over, and it just wouldn't turn over, right? And then if you're hanging around people that only think 9 to 5, because I do believe that mindsets are very contagious. So if you are hanging around people that only talk 9 to 5 and they're living for the weekend, then you're not going to go anywhere in terms of, really thinking about the need to create multiple sources of income. So what I had to personally do was to shift and start hanging around entrepreneurs because the mindset is completely different. It is completely different. So my advice to anyone out there is to check your mindset, number one, and really find out if entrepreneurship is not for everyone. And I want to take out the either or, right? So some people think, okay, I was working, now I want to be an entrepreneur. It it may not be your calling, right? But you need to make multiple streams of income. So, maybe it's a part-time gig somewhere. Maybe do something that you love to do. You're still bringing in multiple sources of income. The key is because, again, I was burnt out and I felt every symptom. I mean, the headaches, the anxiety attacks. I went to the hospital. I thought I was literally having a heart attack, and it was an anxiety attack from just the amount of pressure that I was under. And it really, I had to sit down and just get myself together. And I don't want people to live like that. I don't want people to get to a place in life, especially when it's time for them to retire and they work their entire life and they come to at the end and they realize, you know what, I gave my entire life to an organization and I have nothing left for me. So if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But, try to do it for yourself. Stick
Mm-hmm.
your toe out there.
That's some very good advice. Being around the right people, it's so very important. And the whole mindset thing that helps and to change that mindset to some degree. Because if you're around those positive influences enough, you start believing that I think I can. Yeah, I
Yes,
really think I can. I think
right.
I can do this.
Like a little
Yeah.
choo-choo train. I think I can. I
Yeah.
think I can.
So as you were getting started on your entrepreneur journey, can you describe some of the challenges or struggles that you might have had along the way and how you overcame them?
Excuses. I gave myself a lot of excuses, Oh, it's not the right time. Oh, let me, I get stuck in paralysis now. I'm a data girl. I love data, right? So I'm like, oh, let me do some research over here. No, I can't do X, Y, Z. I can't do it now. Meanwhile, one of my colleagues, we used to work in higher ed together. She started her business. She blew up. I'm like, wait a minute now. We started the same time. What happened? The difference is mindset. She just went full steam ahead and I didn't, right? So the key is you just have to work on your mindset.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I get it. Excuses, excuses. I've been there.
Yeah,
No, it's one excuse after another, one reason
right,
after another why this just isn't the right time. I'll start such and such a time. But it's just excuses. For me, I would say that some of that might have been fear, but I've come to a place now where it's like once God puts it on my heart, it's just a matter of getting it done. When, Lord, when should I do it? And then, I just allow Him to talk to me to let me know because I have wasted so much time because of excuses. Yeah.
right. I can definitely relate to that,
Mhm.
just use it. And you're right, it is fear. It is fear. And that's all it is, And if and I don't know if this ever happened to you, but I've came up with some wonderful ideas, but I didn't act on it. And
Mhm.
then 10 years later, somebody came up with that same idea and
Mhm.
they are doing very well. And the thing is, you just have to walk in faith, even though you don't know where you're going. And I think when you come from a work environment, you have a position description, your day is set, you know what you're going to accomplish, you know the goals that you're going to try to meet between, the first quarter or annual goals. But when you are an entrepreneur, you're just kind of out there. Like there's no one overlording over you, telling you when to show up, when not to show up. So you have to be self-disciplined too
Mhm.
and just do it, even though sometimes you don't know what you're doing. You just got to go do it.
And a term that I also say, walk in faith. I don't want to say walk in fear, but let's just say do it afraid.
Yes,
Because if we wait until we are not afraid, it may never happen. So you
right.
just gotta do it because you do it because you know it's meant for me to do it.
Right. And don't be afraid of what people may say or may not say. People are going to, here's the thing, people are going to talk about you, um, no matter what.
Hmm.
And it's an old song, give me something to think about or whatever the name of that song is, but give them a reason to, I can't think of the name of the song right now. But the point that I'm trying to make is you want to make sure that you just move, just move and take a step.
Yes. Um, what would you say that purpose looks like?
Peace. If I had to sum it up in one word, no matter what I think purpose looks like, feels like, sounds like, peace. If you can imagine yourself walking on a beach and you have the waves roaring in the background and you know that everything is going to be okay. To me, that's what purpose looks like
Hmm.
and feels like.
That is a very good one-word description. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. You feel okay with the world and
You do.
you're
I
just,
mean, the world, the chaos can be happening around you, but when you're walking in your purpose,
yeah.
something that God put on you,
Hmm.
you're going to be, and you know that you're going to be okay, you just do it.
Now that right there should be enough for anybody who is thinking about it and is so close to it, but just afraid and are about to give up. But what one piece of wisdom would you share right now with someone who's close to giving up on their purpose?
Don't find you a mentor. If you cannot find you a mentor, um, just try to read books. I'm willing to talk it to anybody who's out there and they're interested in finding out more. But my thing is just don't give up. Because I've been there. Like I gave up 2, 3 years. I'll wake up and go to work and come home knowing full well that I need to be working on my business,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I didn't have that mentor to say, come on, Lisa, what did you accomplish today? So if you could find an accountability partner or a circle that you can be around, and it really will depend on your industry too, right? So if you are an accountant, right, and you're in this world, but if you are talking to somebody who wants to get out of accounting and do something completely different, then who are you going to connect with? Because your whole life has been spent with accountants and they think differently, right? So, yeah, just trying to find mentors out there.
Mm-hmm. Good advice. I love that. And this is really some awesome advice, Lisa. I love this. Do you have any other tidbits that you'd like to share about purpose?
No, that's it. Just continue to walk and know that you are going to be okay.
Mm-hmm. Awesome stuff. Now, Lisa, now how can people get in touch with you if they're interested in your services and what you do, or even if they're interested in being one of your subject matter experts?
So I would say the best way to get in contact with me is through email. And my email address is elevate, like I'm going to elevate higher, Polaris, which is the North Star, and it's really above the heading there, futureshift.com. So elevate at polarisfutureshift.com, all one word.
Awesome stuff. Thank you again, Lisa. It was so great having you here today. As always, with all of my podcast guests, I learned so much and I've gotten so much from you. I learned from you before you even got here because remember the personal brand thing?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's going to stick with me. So thank you again for being here. And I do wish you a great rest of your day and all the best in your business.
I want to thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate the time. It was fun.
Great. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Thank you. You have just listened to Streaming with a Purpose with your host, Sylvia Montgomery. Thank you so much for listening and continue to stay tuned for our next episode. Until then, bye bye.